So, back in the day of the 1920s, there was once a gender clinic in a place called Berlin, Germany, where all sorts of people from all kinds of backgrounds who were similar in one way, being queer, essentially gathered to figure out what the fuck even is up with gender anyway. What happened to that place? Well, so here is a Scientific American article about this trans clinic. I just want to go through some of it, just highlight what all was going on. It existed as early as 1919. Recognizing the plurality of gender identity and offering support. But as the Institute celebrated its first decade, the Nazi Party was already on the rise. Yes. Adolf would be named Chancellor on the 30th of 33, Lebensunwertes Leben. Lives unworthy of living. Yeah, that's when they started to enact these kinds of things. When the Nazis came for the Institute on May 6, 1933, Hirschfeld, the director of this place, essentially, was out of the country. And Geis, it would be, well, in German it would be Giese, an assistant, essentially, who worked closely with Hirschfeld, my bad, also fled. Troops swarmed the building, carrying off a bronze bust of Hirschfeld and all his precious books, which they piled in the street. Soon, a tower-like bonfire engulfed more than 20,000 books, some of them rare copies that had helped provide historiography for non-conforming people. What does this sound like today? Anyone got any ideas? Well, to me, it sounds a hell of a lot like what's happening with state legislatures and their attempts to outlaw being transgender, which is simply a state of being. Like, this is essentially no different in terms of harm done to trans people. Now, today, if you were to go out and, raid a local clinic and take everything that's inside, nearly everything that's inside, and burn it in the fucking street, you would probably get called out for that stuff. So, they don't really try that too much anymore. At least, not yet. Though, of course, there have been some circumstances where people have burned books because they're fucking Nazis. What I'm getting at here is the Republican Party in action is no different than what the Nazis did to trans people then. Homosexuals and transgender people were, of course, in the mass murdering of the Holocaust, and there is absolutely no basis to any of the legislation that they are trying to put forward in many, many states across the country. I've talked about this kind of shit before. Louisiana, at least for their House, has passed a version of the Don't Say Gay bill. Would prohibit school employees from teaching sexual orientation or gender identity in the classroom. Would broadly ban K through 12. Okay, so yeah, it's just a standard fucking school ban on these topics. Because of course, 18-year-old seniors in high school can't fucking learn about this kind of stuff. It's all just smoke and mirrors to try and get people to not be educated properly about what gender actually is, what sexual orientation actually is. It's just a way to, keep pushing down people who are gay, just queer in general. Now, when I was in high school, I did not learn about gender and sexual orientation. Not that I can remember, at least. So, to pass these bans, these general bans, again, this isn't law yet, but it will be because it's Louisiana. Especially with how, look at that, 67 to 28. Yeah, of course it's gonna get through that Senate and it's gonna be signed. It's all just one way to get at people who are queer, just because they're queer. There's nothing else to it. What do we do to help? Well, we keep getting better educated on it ourselves, via my own library that I have here is just chock full of all kinds of fucking data on the subject. We got studies that sex itself isn't binary. People who do get confirmation surgery, less than 1% regret it. That kind of stuff. Or for hormone therapy, an overwhelming amount of trans people, and by overwhelming amount, I mean percentage, I'm talking over 80% here, do continue to stay on their hormone treatment because it's actually helpful. It keeps you from feeling as shitty because, you are the gender identity that you identify as. We've got studies on this fucking suicide with transgender people. I've got studies on all kinds of things. So any kind of claim that any transphobe would bring to me, I can easily pick apart. I've got all the data for it. So that's definitely what I would recommend. Educating yourself, educating people around you who might be saying terrible things about trans people. And of course, showing up to where these kinds of bills are in committees, where they're being debated upon, voted on in the respective houses and senates. You gotta show up and make your voice heard to the people who want to take away your fucking rights. At the end of the day, all this does is just a lead back to the camps. So, whatever we can do to not get to the camps is worth doing. So, get fucked, GOP. The Zoomer vote is definitely not with you. Keep it up, and there probably won't even be a fucking GOP. Who knows when, though.